everyone. I'm Rita Santa Maria. I am the owner and the founder of Champions School of Real Estate. It's always my pleasure to be able to say thank you for your business. That's first and foremost in my mind. And then to also let you know, I love finding our amazing champion graduates that do well in real estate, just like each of you in the classroom. Every one of you has a dream, has a goal. And by interviewing these great champions, it allows you to say, wow, I can identify with that person. And if they can do it, I can do it. And today I am just very happy to have Kai Alexander. Kai is with Engel and Folkers, and he specializes in the Museum District, the Montrose area. But then in getting to know Kai, I can tell you he's pretty much selling all over Houston, and just a great person to get to know. I right away want to congratulate you because you're with a great office. And with Brooks Ballard, Kai was just given the Associate Director of Development Services.
Yeah.
So welcome, Kai. Good to have you here today.
Thank you. Good to be here. Always exciting.
Good. It's exciting for us also, but I can tell you it is more exciting for our wonderful students and new people listening to get to know your story.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone has a story that happened before real estate. What did you do before you decided to be a realtor?
I was in some kind of support services at Apple, and then I was also in a lot of retail management. So,
okay. Retail management is a great springboard for any kind of sales.
Yeah.
What was the defining moment when you decided to go into real estate?
Well, it really started when my mom brought up the idea of getting into real estate. And I thought it could be a fun kind of career path to go into. I could support the travel that I like to do because obviously the return on the investment is a little bit higher than normal.
Uh-huh.
So, and it was also kind of exciting to know that I could meet people, not just anyone, but also important people in the city too, because Houston's so.
We both kind of shared a laugh with that travel because as I've gotten to spend some time with you, we both like to travel. And Kai was telling me Las Vegas is like a favorite place to go.
Yes.
Yeah. And I as well enjoy Las Vegas. There's such a variety of things to do.
Mm-hmm.
So going into real estate was going to help support your love for travel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a good reason.
Yeah.
And then did you expect you would be as successful as you've been, since he's only had a license since 2017?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Not a long time.
Not a long time. Mm-hmm.
But how did you start out?
Honestly, I started out pretty slow. There wasn't a big emphasis on kind of what I wanted to do specifically. If I had like a niche or anything like that, my first 2 years were pretty slow, but it really took off when I started focusing in on coaching and trying to figure out what I wanted to do specifically in the business. You know, we can sell everywhere, but I wanted to sell a very specific thing. Yeah.
Now, when you say it started out when you started coaching, coaching other agents, coaching, you're having a coach yourself, a mentor?
So me having a mentor,
Okay.
Yeah, I will tell other agents, you know, kind of how my business works, but I still feel like there's a lot that I don't know. So I'm not really comfortable coaching people just yet. So hiring a business coach for myself, not just to teach me how to actually do the act of real estate, but also how to manage a business.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
Starting out, you found that you needed to hire a business coach.
Mm-hmm.
How did you find that business coach?
So the brokerage I first started at actually had a mentorship program that was, I don't want to say required, but it was
Mhm.
pretty,
Highly suggested.
yeah, highly suggested, for good reason, because I do feel had I not had that coach, I probably wouldn't be doing any of the things that I'm doing right now.
Good.
So there was a good
Good.
3 or 4 months before I had the coach where I
Good.
definitely was not.
We always tell new people, be sure in the interview process with sponsoring broker to ask, how am I going to learn what I need to learn?
Mm-hmm.
And are you going to give me the training that I need? Are you going to mentor me? Are you going to assign someone to me? What is your training program like? We know that's so very, very, very important
Mm-hmm.
to not just sink or swim, but have a direction.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously the direction went well. And I love talking with Kai in that it's not only an area in residential that you specialize in, but you also specialize in high rise condos. And we really haven't interviewed a lot of people that sell in the high rise condo area. How did that take place? And how did you learn how to show and sell? What is the process that you went through to get into that specialty?
Yeah. There is a growing number of high-rise developments all around the country. Houston is a little bit slower sometimes. We're just kind of getting into vertical, but there was a challenge behind how to present the properties. It's difficult to get into them. The HOAs are all different. Financing's different. So
That's
it's
sort of what
exciting.
we hear. It's difficult to get into.
Yeah, very difficult. I think the biggest thing was it was just different. It wasn't, just turning a key, getting to know the concierge services. And I think that's something that I would want when I did live in a high rise for quite a moment. And it was exciting. It was nice to, have someone waiting on me and stuff like that. So I figured, well, what could I do to sell this? It just seemed fun, to be quite honest. So,
Sure.
yeah, but the challenge behind it was probably the main part. It was just different than everything else.
Literally, did you get your foot in the door by just being exceptionally kind or nice to the listing agent or the on-site agent? Well, and obviously there are lots of listing agents with properties and high rises. Do you feel like it's as easy to get into a new building as it is into a new subdivision, for example?
No, I think it is a lot harder to get into some of the newer buildings. The best thing that I've done is like networking with the agents, and not just with the agents, but also like the staff that's there, the concierge teams, sometimes the corporate HOAs even. There are a lot of listing agents, but most of the ones that are doing high rise, mid rise sales, they're the same, especially in Houston. So the networking aspect was really what got me into the buildings the most.
Now, did you just come up with that idea on your own, or did someone say, Kai, you really need to get into networking?
No. So, several of my mentors were the ones that told me to get into networking.
Okay.
The old school, traditional, I'm really young, but I think the biggest thing was just kind of not trying to reinvent the wheel and people telling me, you need to go talk to people. The business is outside. It's not always behind the desk. And I just really took that and ran with it. Sometimes a little bit too far, but that has really helped get my foot in the door with a lot of things.
You made a great statement. You said, I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. So many times, especially in our marketing classes, when we're talking to our new students or SAE students about things that work in marketing, you can either hear it out of their mouth or in their brain, they're thinking, oh, that's great, but I'm going to find my own way, do it a new way. I'm going to really challenge myself to find something totally new and different. Well, that's okay, but tried and true works all day long.
Yes, I agree.
And it was really smart on your part that you listened to what those mentors suggested that you do.
And you can, I think, I don't do everything exactly, as it has been. One of the books I think about is like the compound effect. If you just do 1% better, or I think it's Atomic Habits. If you do 1% better every day or every week or however you want to gauge it, then, that's sometimes 20-30% better per the year. I think if you do that approach, you can still put in some of your own creativity without getting distracted by so much just new. Because if you're trying to reinvent everything, it takes a long time to do that. So.
And I love that percentage. No matter how you use the percentage, if it's 1% a day, or if it's 1 pound a day, or whatever, when you look at the end of 30 days, look how you've compounded whatever your goal is. Maybe it's savings 1%. And then the next day it's another percent. Well, by the end of the month, you've saved a lot of money. And the idea of networking and marketing with people, if you just increased your prospect base 1% a day, wow, at the end of 30 days, you have 30% more business.
Yes.
You have a marketing skill, and you are very high on marketing. I think you said starting out in your career life, you thought you wanted to be an engineer. I don't see you as an engineer.
I don't either. My professors did not see me as an engineer. I actually had in an AutoCAD class, which was so difficult for me to do. My professor told me, if you just quit doing this today and you go and change your degree path to marketing, I will pass you out of this class just so you can do that. And
my God,
that is what I did. And
that is hysterical.
Yes, isn't it? That was at Blaine College just before I went to U of H.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
If you will just go into marketing, you pass.
Because my presentations were fantastic, but actually putting anything together just was not my forte. Actually, working.
That was me in trigonometry.
Yeah.
My trig class, I love math, but trig just killed me.
Yeah.
And the professor said, just stick it out.
You're in the beginning stages. If you can go do something else, we might be able to salvage something here. Yeah.
I love it. Well, let's talk about how you got started, because new people always want to know, how did this successful person start the career that you've only been in since 2017? And now you have a wonderful position as a director in your company. Your company is awesome. Brooks Ballard's well known in the Houston area, very reputable. How did you, and I know you started with a different company, but let's forget about the company at the moment. How did you, Kai, get your career started? What activities did you do?
Working my sphere a lot. There was a long time, we always say like lead with listings, which is very important. Don't ever, if you have a chance to get a listing, take the listing first.
Yes.
And yet most of my friends and family were really young. So I was 20 when I started. I didn't have like $1 million sphere, and most of my friends were still in college. So really nurturing those people and helping them understand, I'm going to be here in 5 years time, in 3 years time, whatever it may be, to walk you through your process. A lot of hand holding and transferring what I knew from retail into real estate. So really showcasing the product. I like to say my open house is my storefront. So really just playing it like it was a game. That's what mostly took off, is having that sphere that was being nurtured the whole time while I was kind of doing cold calls and waiting for those things to pick up. And then it all just kind of happened at once. So I think I want to say maybe my third year is when, all the days of following up with people, all the days of calling people, telling them I'm in real estate, all at one time really fell into place. And I had a great business partner as well in the past. And so we kind of fed off of each other back and forth. And that's really what took off. So I would say, in a nutshell, my sphere and focusing on the listings, no matter how hard it was in the beginning. Because people told me constantly, you look really young. and I will always look really young. I challenge you to figure out how old I am now. I guess you could do the math, but that was something really difficult to get over. But I just kept pushing through. And so
there are so many things you've said
yeah,
that I want to just hit the highlights again for our students that are watching, because, well, and as well, this will be on YouTube, and you'll be able to see the interview again on YouTube or on our Real Estate Champions, Real Estate Superstars Today podcast. But I'm going to go back with a couple of things you said that are so important for those that are listening. You started out in this new wonderful business of being an entrepreneur at 20 years old. That had to be a little bit unsettling and fearful. And yet we tell everyone in our marketing classes, in writing, in our textbooks, if you appear as though you are 100% committed to your career, age doesn't have that much of a factor.
no.
And you were very smart to network with those within your sphere that you knew at some point they're going to be looking for their first house to buy.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be there. I know your average price of all the properties you sell, I read it down, it's around $550,000, $450,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's appreciable.
Yeah.
Appreciable.
And it took a while to get there, but we're here now. So,
and then you said exactly that. You said 3 years. We tell everyone your first 2 years are really your training ground, so to speak.
100%.
If you do outstanding your first 2 years, that's very unusual for most people doing a great job, being committed. That third year is the kick-in year.
Mm-hmm.
And you just said it. That's what happened
Mm-hmm.
with you. I also want to just have you notice the professional attire. When you're younger, you have
You've got to be,
look professional.
Yes, always, everywhere. I think the biggest, I mean, when I first came in here today, you guys said, "Is this not the best dress?" And I really do dress like this all the time. Even when I dress down, it's still very professional, or it's somewhat chic. Where I was before, I was fortunate. Don't get me wrong. I got to wear my little t-shirt every now and then, but if I'm in front of a client, if I'm in front of another agent, most of the time I'm going to dress as nice as I possibly can, because you never know.
You never know. And you're setting really the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to be talking with you and you are here in this beautiful suit, white shirt with a neat little pattern, great tie, I know it's not going to be an unprofessional talk. It's going to be very to the point, succinct, and I can only imagine your listing agent, as a listing agent, sitting with your sellers. You walk in the door, they know, oh, this is going to be a professional presentation.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, our technical director, Joseph, when Kai walked in, Joseph said, well, I think you're the best dressed superstar we've had here. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And what a great smile. So networking most definitely helped you tremendously.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know. There is, I think we all operate in this kind of a bubble when we're kind of just working with ourselves. And with real estate, we can really get carried away with, working at home, or you're not really around anyone until you're around the customer. So my thought is, if I can practice in front of other people with like much lower stakes, then I'm going to do that.
Perfect.
And there's so much great talent in Houston. And everywhere too. Yeah, you don't just have to network here as well. I make calls to people in other states just to see, what's going on in those markets, feeder markets, things like that. And it gives you a different perspective on what's going on. And really networking outside of my comfort zone. Because I intentionally picked agents that were either older than me, smarter than me, did way more business than I did. because again, you really just don't know what you don't know until
you learn so
yeah,
much.
you learn so much, and it's so fast. It's so fast.
And salespeople honestly like to help other
Yes.
salespeople.
Yeah. I've never run into a situation where someone did not want to help me.
New people often worry, well, aren't they thinking competition? They're thinking there are so many people out there in Texas that, much less the world, there's plenty of room for everyone. And salespeople tend to be very, very helpful. In fact, as you know, an experienced agent is the best salesperson trying to get the new people into their office. They want new people in their office. So congratulations for looking at the more seasoned agents to ask information and search them out.
Yeah.
Starting out, we always know new people have a lot of time, obviously less money. So that idea of networking doesn't cost you anything. It just costs you your time. What else did you do starting out? Did you go to high rises and literally try to know your inventory? Did you preview residential properties, new home developments? I know in your homepage on the internet, it says that you're an advocate for builders and developers. How does that work and play into your career? What do you do in that regard? Yeah,
so definitely networking at like broker opens. Broker opens are probably my favorite because then we get to look at a lot of pretty houses. It's so fun. It's fun. And if you do it with intention, it's not a waste of time. I think, if you're just running in and out of the house, and that's one thing, but if you're going, asking, I think my favorite question is, who is buying this house? Because you will inevitably run into someone that is buying that house. I'll walk into $1 million property, say, who's buying this? Oh, it's a doctor that has probably 2 kids that are trying to be in the medical center, and so on and so forth. And in my time at a restaurant, at a coffee shop, I'll overhear someone, because everyone is talking about real estate all the time.
All the time.
Always. And so if you know the inventory in the area, I don't have to go to HAR to find out what's available, because I've already seen it all. I've seen everything that's in the areas that I serve. Working with builders is the same way. I think it's my superpower knowing the future. So when I run into when you run into a small builder that says, oh, well, this is how this neighborhood is going to go. And you can say, well, actually, I just met with insert name over here 2 days ago, and they're building X, Y, and Z. And, they're a part of this association and so on. I'd love to introduce you to that person. You're instantly more credible, yes, than anyone else that's out there, just because you were able to connect those two people together. I think builders like that the most, because they're trying to figure out the future. What they're building, they were preparing that 18 months prior. So they're looking for someone that knows what's going on and knows the neighborhood and knows everyone that's building there as well. So broker opens, meeting them where they are is how I've mostly got involved with that.
That takes a lot of self-confidence.
Yeah. I'm not always with a smile all the time. Yeah.
So you also have made it a point to learn about HOAs and different HOAs. And then you're bringing the developers together with HOAs, or you're bringing your expertise and knowledge together to the developer builder. I'm sure they're really impressed with that.
Yeah, because they know, they can see what's happening on paper, what the city puts out, but the smaller nuances around what's going on in the neighborhood, who they're going to be competing with, other builders, things like that, knowing who's going to be able to maintain their product as it's finished, that kind of post-service, I think, is what they look for. It's not always just what's the price. They want to know beyond that. Am I going to be able to sustain this project and be able to move on into the next development? I don't know that a lot of agents, advisors give that information. And that's been a really strong suit for me, for sure. Being able to share that information to them.
What I'm hearing is you do a lot of research. You are very educated. You are constantly educating yourself.
Constantly.
I also noticed that you took our staging course, and thank you for that.
Thank
he
you for
also
teaching.
has taken all of our courses at Champions, which I always want to say thank you for doing that. Certainly CE as well as your qualifying courses. Let's talk about your most fulfilling sale you had, the most successful. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. The most successful sale I had just got topped. So the newest one has to be maybe a couple of weeks, or we're in February now. So probably December of last year. It was a land deal, and it was successful because I pulled it out of thin air. It wasn't listed by anyone. It was a networking situation where, I'll say his name, Chris Fan. Actually, I look up to him a lot. He sold me my house. So he worked with a builder that then, I represented myself to get that home. He had a project, that was supposed to come up and called me up and said, hey, I know you wanted to get into development. I know you have some investors. We've been talking back and forth. You were the first name that came to my mind. So immediately it was one of those, this worked kind of situations. He said he had this huge lot. Price point was great. I had a client, that was we had been probably looking for 4 or 5 months, for land of the size that he had. We came in cash. It closed, I think within 2 weeks, we were able to do feasibility and everything. And now, the plan is to build something very special on there. We're not talking about it too much, because it's still kind of private.
Sure.
But it is going to have, when we construct these properties on it, it will probably be my biggest transaction to date, from that lot all the way through.
Wow.
So that was a multifaceted, fun, networking, didn't even hit the MLS kind of situation. And when we closed it, I probably felt more rewarded from that than anything else I've had. So
congratulations.
Thank you.
Should.
Yeah, it was fun.
You brought people together,
Mm-hmm.
each had a need, and you made it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm sure now, once the building project starts, you will be the point person.
Yeah, we're managing it completely end to end. So, which is again, one of the few times that I've had to be able to do that in my career. And this is what I've always wanted to do in my business. So now I need to find 4 more of these to hit my goal for it.
Kai, I know for a fact, many people watching you right now are thinking, he keeps talking about networking, and they're wondering what kind of networking can they do?
Mm-hmm.
So would you be a little specific with different kinds of networking that you do? Like, where do you go? Who do you see? I know you said your friends that you have. What other kind of networking do you do?
There's sometimes, I would say maybe like 20% of the time, it's like business to business. Being very strategic, because you do want to save your time. So I do network with other agents and other real estate advisors, in the business, but I really try to make that very purposeful. So if there's an area that I want to get into, or I have a listing coming up somewhere, then I may network in that neighborhood specifically.
See what's going on, and you're going to be there.
I'm going to be there before, because I want to get it right the first time. I don't want to have to relist it or, disappoint the client. Other networking I do is, I try really, really, really hard. I put a lot of emphasis on remembering everything about everyone, because you never know if you run into someone that needs something. If I can connect 2 people together, I find the most success in that, because people trust you more. They feel, I can go to you for anything. It's not just real estate, because I probably know someone that can do whatever it is they need for either cheaper, free, or in a better experience. I go to conferences a lot. I'd say a good amount of time. I probably go to about 3 conferences a year minimum.
That's excellent.
Yeah. because they can take a lot of time, but I don't go to them to like party or like, go out and do all that. It's very purposeful. I try to meet the same people.
I love that
again.
word you keep using, purposeful, because your time, as you said, is very valuable. And you're saying, well, I'm going to dedicate this amount of time. What do I want to get out of this meeting, out of this networking, out of this open house? I love the idea you said for yourself, an open house is your storefront.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's got to look
pretty. You are
pretty
open for
nice.
business, and I can help anyone that walks in the store. And if this particular property doesn't work for you, I can help you find another one. It's another great way for new agents to get started. Volunteer, hold an open house for an experienced agent.
Open houses is probably the number one way that I started my business, because I came from retail. So I was already so accustomed to being in front of people. I won't lie. It's hard for me to do cold calls sometimes. Now, not so much. It does get better, obviously, but before, I think it gets better now because I know everything. So it's easy for me to pick up the phone.
Sure.
But the open house was key. I get to, in high school, college, I was in theater. So I literally make a game out of it. I know it sounds goofy, but I'm still a child at heart. I put on my little suit and it's a play. It's a game, walking in there and knowing everything about the house. It's exciting when someone comes and they're like, I don't think I've heard anyone say as much as they know about this neighborhood. I'm like, well, what else? You're paying a lot of money. You want to make sure that
you're very believable. And I know when you walk into an open house and start asking questions, they're going to say, Kai is serious about this. And you do it with such nice demeanor, I think is the best word I can think of.
Thank you.
Cold calling is tough. I just interviewed not too long ago a gentleman from East Texas who literally sells from Tyler, Texas down to Orange, Texas.
Wow.
He sells lake, farm, ranch, residential, all cold calling.
Oh, wow.
And his cold calling tool is literally the telephone. And yet every day he said he puts like 338 miles on his car.
Oh, I believe that, yeah.
Cold calling does work. It takes a lot of courage. I love how you say you sort of get suited up for it.
Yes.
And for you, it's almost like getting ready for a wonderful being on the stage, drama class or something, just being ready.
Yeah, you got to pump yourself up.
It works.
Yeah, for sure.
It works. Can you recall one of your most difficult, challenging that you would feel comfortable sharing?
Yeah.
What would that might be?
I think, like, in terms of a transaction.
Yes.
I think I know actually, yeah, now it came up. I'm like running through the yearbook in my head. My most challenging transaction has to be a client that was in the last hour for a foreclosure, and we had a buyer. Everything was lined up, but it was really difficult negotiations back and forth. The buyer on the other end was not able, they just were not moving fast enough. And I had developed so much rapport with the seller that it felt kind of like it was my situation, that was falling apart. He had a family, or they had a family, 2 kids. It was really difficult. And unfortunately we did not succeed. So the next day, we woke up, I stayed up probably till 2 a.m. trying to negotiate back and forth with this agent. And we just couldn't get it done. And sure enough, it was like 8 a.m. the next day, it went to the tax board, and 8:05 it was sold to someone else. So unfortunately they had to move out of there. That was really hard. I think because my hands were so in the transaction.
You gave it your best.
I gave it to my best.
Was out of your hands.
Yeah, it was out of my hands. That was also kind of defining, because I, at that point, had to realize, I feel empathy for my clients. I feel really connected to them, But at the same time, there's only so much we can do. I still talk to them, and now everything's okay with them. But before, that was really hard for me. I think that was the first time I like lost a situation.
Are you walking through the process with them so at some point they can buy another house?
Yes. So now everything is good. We
Perfect.
introduced them to credit repair and got them in a nice rental for a little while, but maybe next year they'll probably.
That also says volumes about you.
Yeah, I was not going to let them just falter.
I can see with his just describing the situation, it's like, yes, your heart is still hurting, but they will be able to move forward and credit in good shape. That's a great story.
Yeah.
Great story in that you gave it your all. And sometimes you can give it your all and things still fall apart. That, again, is part of our business, that after a while, some agents get a little bit down because you think everything's together. Maybe the inspection comes back with areas that cause it to fall apart. Maybe the appraisal doesn't appraise as it should. That's just part of the game. It's part of the challenge. It's part of the business that we're in. Not everyone's going to be a home run. Not every sale is going to be a home run. But kind of makes it interesting, really.
It does. I think that's why I've stayed in the business so long, is nothing is ever the same. The contracts are promulgated for the most part, but there's always something different every day. Every transaction is different. Every person is different. And I think just kind of walking them through that is more fun and rewarding. And again, it's like a superpower. Like, people get so excited because they think we just open doors, but every now and then, you make a slip. We're not always perfect, but when they see behind the curtain a little bit and you're like, oh, you're not supposed to see, they're like, I had no idea you were doing all that. I'm like, yeah, you're just supposed to get the keys at the end. Yeah. So it's fun.
There's a lot involved to get you to the end with the keys. And knowing you, the short amount of time that I have, knowing all of our agents that are in the business and love it, they always say, I know I did my best with this client, and if this fell apart, I know they're still going to use me for another sale.
Always.
And that's why with your foreclosure story, we know they're still going to use you down the road when they are able to purchase again. You do your best. This didn't come together, but we'll find another house, another property.
Always.
Exactly.
Holding your hands.
How many hours a week do you work on average?
On average, maybe 40 to 50.
Okay.
Yeah, including the weekends. I do make a point to take off at least one full weekend a month. And then once a quarter, I take about a whole week off. So me and my partner, Michael, will be traveling somewhere or something.
Okay.
But I'd say about 40 to 50.
I call that sharpening the saw. Taking off really allows you to get a handle on, well, when I come back after that week, I'm going to kick in and do da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
It really makes you better.
It does. And I get so motivated when, we travel, we go to a concert or an event or something like that. And we come home and I'm like, well, I want to do that again. So I know in order to keep doing this, we need to keep the business going. Yeah.
Keep the pace going.
Yeah.
Is there a particular software, tool, technology that has really helped you recently? What would that be?
My CRM, for any new agents, the client relationship management tool, my database. I use Lofty. It used to be called like Chime, I think. That it's really powerful. It does a lot of automation for me. I'm pretty tech savvy, so that system has been really helpful. It tells me like what people are looking at.
Having worked for Apple, for you to say this is really good for you.
It's super useful.
It's a good one. Can you repeat it again for our students?
Yeah, Lofty like your like lofty goals. I assume that's why they
Okay.
changed the name from Chime to that. Yeah, that's probably the most useful tool that I have right now.
For a brand new student listening and watching, it's your client management system. It's sending out information so you're top of mind all the time.
Yes.
What else does it do for you that helps you?
It tells me who to call, which is useful because as you get to do this for a long time, you're going to have hundreds, thousands of people in your database, and we really can call them all if you are targeted with it, specific with the time. So it helps boost people up to, tell me like this person's been viewing the website a lot, or this person has checked their home value 4 or 5 times, and it puts them on top. So that way I can make sure I'm not missing people. So that's probably the number one thing that it does for me. Number 2 would probably be managing my website. Yeah, I can see when people look at my website. Yeah, they have some really great website templates.
Great photography also.
Thank you.
Do you use much social media in your business?
So yes and no. I'm going to say yes because I recently got some networking. I recently got 2 of my friends, they're really good friends of me and my partner Michael, that do all of my videos, photos, things like that. And I'm about to give them all my social media to manage for them to do it because I don't have the time to do it. Yet I know that social media is really important. And most of my clients right now are coming from either social media, open houses, or my website in that order. So
the other thing I always like to make a point, everything's a step at a time.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're developing a new career. So when you watch all of our YouTube videos of our superstars, wonderful people like Kai, it's a step at a time. And some of our new people, like Suman Kim from Austin, he just was a whiz at social media.
Mm-hmm.
No money, but a whiz at social media. So he just did social media. And when I say social media, I'm saying pretty much Facebook is what he did.
Instagram. Yeah.
You just never know what's going to be that for you. And to talk with you about networking and everything that you did to become so knowledgeable about the medical center, the museum district, all of those areas within Houston, Texas, where you became the expert. Yeah. It works for you.
It works. And I think the biggest part of it is consistency, which is why I'm now hiring my close friends to take care of the social media for me. They're very good at what they do. They make me look great. But the consistency is the most important part. I think people make a post every now and then they just kind of stop. And that's just not how the algorithm works. You've got to stay consistent with it as best you can, even if you just post like stories every now and then. It's important to do that.
I hope our students and our customers wrote that down. Consistency is the name of the game. You just must do it all the time.
And being consistent with what you like, what your strengths are, because in the past, I spent a lot of time trying to be consistent with things that I either wasn't really good at, but I felt like it was the mold I was supposed to be put in, or things that I just really wasn't that interested in doing. And it shows up, and you still have to do the hard thing. We have 1,000,005 things we have to do, but if you're being consistent with what you're good at and what you enjoy doing, it shines through and it makes it so much easier that way.
I had a smart broker I interviewed one time, and she said to me, when I have an agent, and frankly, not necessarily new agent, but experienced agent, that comes to my office and says, "Oh man, my business has gotten slower." She said, she would say to that person, "Let me see your calendar, your day timer, whatever you use from the last 60 days. And often we get caught up in the day-to-day, closing, inspections, making these 2 transactions, buyers, sellers, come together. and we're not consistent about prospecting. And that tells a story.
Yes.
Back to what you said early on, the 1% a day. Well, prospect every day, and you will always have business. Keeping it consistent.
And taking control of your time, honestly, is, people say it's easier said than done. It's actually really easy, period. If you make your business out to be, like you're the real estate doctor, you don't go into the doctor's office and tell them, I need surgery today. There's a process. I do that everywhere. I will tell my clients when I first meet them, this is how we follow up. This is when we're going to talk about, your home. This is when I'm doing this, so that they know, okay, Kai's doing what he said he's going to be doing for the property. And I know right now he's looking for other business. You can be upfront and honest with that. And it helps people not, we're only so busy with the transaction because we're just doing everything every time.
Can we call you the real estate doctor?
So I call myself the real estate doctor. I tell people that.
I love that.
Yeah. Don't real estate WebMD yourself.
I love that. It's a step-by-step approach. To get to the surgery.
Yes.
To get to the listing.
Yes.
To get to the sale. Love it. Very, very cool. Do you have any advice for yourself that maybe early on in your career you would have done something differently? Or do you feel like it happened as it should? Would you go back and do anything different?
First, I am very grateful for everything that has happened. I do, I think I'm right where I need to be, right when I'm supposed to be there. And yet, if I did do something different, it would probably be go with a brokerage or a team somewhere that was a little bit more geared towards the niche that I wanted to be in.
Okay.
I'm also a really fast learner, so fortunately I was able to, catch all the way back up again. But I think if there was a new agent that I had to tell that to, it would be focus on the niche, what it is that you want to do. Even if you change it later on, focus on that. I think a lot of people say
focus on what excites you.
Excites you. Yes. You will go so much further if you want to sell that product, if you're interested in what it is that you're, trying to do. So
obviously you're able to do residential. You're doing high rise. I love it. You call it the vertical, which is true. Our vertical real estate. You're also doing some development. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
That's awesome. You told me a little more commercial is coming into your pipeline as well.
Yeah.
So it's all real estate. And yet starting out, you may not know, is it farm and ranch? Is it lake property? Is it high rise? Is it residential, commercial, property management? Once you find that excitement, your career just becomes
so fast.
Excellent.
So fast. Yeah. I think spending that first 2 years, you said it perfectly earlier, your first 2 years is kind of that like training period. If you take the time in that 2 years to really think about, like, try a lot of things, try like farm and ranch, try all these things. I have no interest in farm and ranch. I think it's super cool. That is really impressive, the landman and all what they do. But it took trying to do that to know that I may not be the best at this, or, someone else could be doing that. And I have a great referral partner that can, take control of that. Is really key.
Good self-talk.
Yeah.
This is really not what I feel good at.
Yeah.
So I'll leave that to others.
Yeah.
And find what I excel at. And you've done that.
I need long game transactions because I like to travel. So I need long periods of pause in there. And I knew, okay, well, development, luxury, high rise condo, it fits that. Yeah.
I feel like Kai Alexander is going to have a lot of travel in your future. And without question, you are definitely one of our superstars. I have most definitely enjoyed getting to talk with you today. and have our wonderful customers just see another reason why they can do it. It's just so inspiring for everyone to be in the class and say, well, here's someone at a young age who didn't let age be a factor and did everything that you should do, needed to do to become the entrepreneur you are today. I congratulate you on that.
Thank you.
And I congratulate you for taking time out for Kai to just readjust and then come back after just a week's bit of vacation and jump back into the business. So you can see this interview again on our Champions YouTube site. And Kai Alexander is with Engel and Folkers and the Brooks Ballard team, so well thought of in our Houston region. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And I look forward to also our students being able to hear you on our Real Estate Superstars Today podcast. So everyone, thank you for your business. Thank you for choosing to be a champion. Without your business, we don't have one. And further success to you, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you.